All right, so I'm going to turn my, you're going to share my screen? Okay.
Fantastic. And I'll just say for the sake of those who are tuning in for the recording that we are the ACS Modern Language and Technology Group. We are meeting today with Lee Wei of Rollins College to discuss iPad programs and e-textbooks for language learning. And Professor Wei is coming to us from Rollins College, the Department of Modern Languages and Literatures. And one of his major research interests, besides ethnomusicology, is computer-assisted technology for language learning. So please take it away.
Thank you, Amanda, and it is very exciting to share some of my personal experience, with some of the newer technology in Chinese language learning. So here is my title: is a e-textbook ready for mainstream language learning? This is a very broad, question. So I just use my personal account, as a teacher, as a user, so basically as a report. Two things that are recently been involving in my language teaching. One is the ebook. It's called Enhanced Integrated Chinese by the China Tree published company. The other is Chinese Character Trainer. Is an app for the smartphone, for iPhone or for Android. So obviously, why we choose e-textbook? Okay, I think in general we all agree ebook has a distinctive, advantage to have a rich multimedia content, lots of information, especially audio and video content embedded in the textbook or in the ebook. And I want to just show you some of the examples that already existed in some of the ebook. Here is I hope we can see this. Let me just, this is a children's book as for the iPad. It's interactive. It's kind of a moving. Um, did you see that? Yeah, let me see.
We can see it. Yeah, it looks like it might be loading.
Okay. Yeah, it takes some time. It should suppose like the moving around. Maybe I should change the resolution. Well, it's YouTube, right? Where is the resolution? Maybe it's too high. Well, I guess you get the idea,
Oh, wow.
It's yeah, it's basically one of the apps in ebook item. Oh, hold on. Let me back to my. So there's the audio, video. If designed correctly and implemented very effectively, it's just a lot of fun to read. I think especially for the young kids, they are very visual oriented and want to see a lot of effects, but also add a fun part, to their learning experience. And another thing that I think is very important for e-textbook is its interactive capability. To be able to input, record, for instance, voice recording is a very important feature in language learning. So if you can use that technology into e-textbook. There's also exercise, how we practice, and also get instantaneous feedback. This also add a lot of advantages. But of course, the last one, portability, is light, convenient, and uh, can be easily carried around. So it's portable and transportable. Um, so here I'll just give you some examples, and many of you perhaps know Al Gore's book is called Our Choice. One of the earliest, I think, um, e-books that available in Apple's iTunes store. Yeah. The other thing, the second example for the lower part is I think it's very well written by 3 authors, introduce Chinese culture, but it's in a modern context. There are 2 images here. One on the left, you can see this is actually a movie. It's also embedded. You can play on the iPad and watch the movie. This is about the one of the ethnic minority called Durong, and living in southwest China in Yunnan province. And on the left, you see lots of image, some of the ethnographic information, the structure, costume. So it's a very rich content. That's why I think it's very attractive, to have an ebook. Okay, here's our project. Okay, this is a project that's funded by our Faculty Technology Integration Grant. So I think Rollins does have this very wonderful opportunity provided to to faculty and also the staff, and help them to design and to develop some wonderful programs, use modern technology to enhance their teaching and effective learning. So this is I applied last year, just like in around time, this March, and I said, well, I heard there's Integrated Chinese come out, the new ebook with enhanced book also can be used on iPad, and so there's 2 components into this program. One is the eTextbook itself. The other one is a little app. Originally we thought it's very little, but actually we spent more money on this than the other textbook. I will tell you later on. Anna is fully aware of this. Integrated Chinese is very one of the maybe top 5 mainstream textbook used by the college Chinese language program. So they start to implement some modern technology used as an ebook, can show on both computer and as well as on ebook on iPad. So and the grant also help us to purchase a number of iPad mini. It's not a full-fledged iPad, but the mini is good enough. So we said, okay, we purchased. Then for last semester, for 101 class, we loaned to 14 students. Okay. So let me just give you some of the features of enhanced integrated Chinese. One thing I like this is audio embedded for lesson text and vocabulary new words. Okay, so traditionally we have purchased another CD, right, and listen to separate audio files on a computer. Now this is all in one, so when you read your book, then you can play it on your ebook as well. So let me just quickly show you what I meant here. Now this is also another feature. It's called an iBook, right? It's in your computer. So actually this e-textbook can be used on either Mac. I mean, you have to run the latest operating system, or on iPad. So since I'm already on Mac, so I don't right now to use the iPad to demonstrating. So this is the audio file. So you can. This is the lesson 1.
Lesson 1, Dialogue 1, Exchanging Greetings. 你好，
你好，
请问你贵姓？
我姓李，你呢？
我姓王。李小姐，你叫什么名字？
我叫李友。王先生，你叫什么名字？
我叫王鹏。
Okay, so this is the very first lesson, dialogue one. Basically, they exchange their greetings. Hello. What's your name? What's your name? My name is such such. Very simple. But you can also see there is also option of so-called fanti is a traditional Chinese character. So if you hit this, you will see all these characters start to change to so like this one. Not every characters, but a lot of characters change to traditional format, which is called the fanti. You also have option to have a pinyin. So especially for the first year students, they're exposed to a lot of Chinese characters, which to them is lots of drawing, and the stroke, all these strokes make their headache. So they said, okay, I wanted to just read it to practice my speech. So yes, fine. So just click this. This is the romanization of Chinese. It's much easier, friendly. So it's 你好,请问你贵姓, for instance. So they can do this as well. So eventually, one of them to recognize characters and to be able to pronounce it, read aloud from the text and not the pinyin. This is the ultimate goal. But right now, especially at the 100 level, they sometimes have to rely their pinyin skills. So also have the vocabulary, and this is the pronunciation, and also you click this.
好
So all these audio files are embedded in text. So this is what I like. And also, while we're still here, and you have a option to make notes. For instance, let me see if yeah. So for instance, I want to make this notes. This is great. I know this can be, see this option? Oh, add a notes. So I just click this. I said, 贵 can also mean expensive. So if you click here, there's also means expensive. There's notes here, so you can, refer to remind you. You can also make all these different highlights, different colors, and the whole text is oriented with text lessons. So from lesson one, dialogue one, vocab one, grammar one, language practice, all this based on text. Um, then there's this is the notes kind of a pen. And also you have to go to like, okay, this is too small. I want to get a larger font. You see this, how ni hao becomes larger and larger. Yeah, also get a smaller space. And it also get some different fonts or it's a little bit slower. I don't know. I think it's require a lot of resources, computer resources to run this program. And there's a search. For instance, this is very useful if students want to know, which particular character or word, functions as they have different grammatical functions. You can search. For instance, I search Beijing, for instance. Beijing is Chinese capital. Okay, so I want to search how many Beijing in this entire first semester book. Kind of so start showing, okay, what's Beijing, vocabulary lesson 1, grammar 2, there's lesson language practice, and then it goes on. It's very slow, yeah. Then there is also bookmark is also useful too, so you want to go different places, to practice. So this is pretty much, have the conventional book, all the features you have. Yeah, so that, this is I mentioned, the annotation tools, make notes, right? And you have a pop-up notes. Oh, I haven't shown you this. Basically, you have like notes in a book, and with the conventional book, you have notes. You have to go several pages after to see grammar section of the notes. But in this, you just click this because this has a hyperlink, so instantaneously get access to the grammar part and with that particular reference. So this is very, very useful. Okay, now let's not be confused with iBook features, because iBooks is Apple's own product, right? It's basically the bookshelf you can purchase from the iTunes store, then later on just read all these books. But they're also very unique features. It's designed within the iOS ecosystem. So you can add dictionaries. Okay, for instance, there's German, English, Japanese, English, French, Spanish. All these dictionaries, it's downloaded for free on the Mac and also on the iPad. Now, for the pronunciation tools, I think now it's only on the Mac, not available on the iPad. All these font selection search, I just mentioned before, so they have pretty much, it's the iBook features. It's not on the. Okay, so what are the shortcomings? This is what I consider. Okay, so first of all, the ebook pages does not correspond to that of printed version. So we actually running into this problem several times, because not all our students, they use the ebook right now. Some still purchase the conventional printed book. So when I mention this, that, the number just don't match. They just entirely different system. So it can be very confusing. Secondly, I think this particular book does not take the advantage of Apple's speech technology. So in other words, all the sound is coming from their audio files. It's embedded, right? But we know Apple have their speech technology and the speech voice recognition technology. Sometimes we just highlight a phrase and it will read aloud to you, but that is not the case for this book. So in other words, they do not take advantage of this. And another shortcoming is limited to the portrait view on the iPad mini. Now, this isn't the case for the regular iPad. Okay, what does that mean? Is, we have iPad have both like a horizontal and the vertical. Horizontal is considered a landscape, and the vertical is portrait view. Well, this won't be much problem for individual use, but when the instructor tries to show on the big screen, for instance, on the overhead, the big one on the classroom, right? And it's just horrible. Basically, you connect and you see all these characters or the content that is turned into 90 degree. It's not like the one we will see right now. And I already report this problem to the publisher, and they try to fix it. But this only affects iPad mini, not the iPad regular version. Okay, now let's move to Chinese character trainer. For those full-outs may be also familiar with Clavis Seneca, as David Porter, and who is also a professor from University of Ann Arbor. Yeah, he himself is a sinologist, so he knows a lot of Chinese. So we contract him and ask him to help us to develop a customized character writing app, but also have to be tailored to this particular book, because we tried first to see if there's any commercial version of similar app like Trainer, basically to help us to train Chinese characters, but we don't find anything. So we have to contact him, ask. So yeah, he said okay. So but our school very supportive. They spent over like maybe $1,500 just for this little app. Basically, we give our students free. So what we did is to provide a list of characters. It's lesson based. So 14 lessons, so we just provide all these characters. Then they just use the existing, I think they have a very large character database. to put it in the right order, divide into different lessons. Then it's first started with the iOS, the iPhone version. Then later on, they also implemented on Android. So right now they work both sides. So the benefits, of course, is the use the app to force our students to learn, correct stroke order. Yeah, I will demonstrate later on. And it's also it's animated stroke, so it's animation adds fun. So students like that too. So this app has 3 modes. Okay. First is train, and the second is drill. The last one is test. So I will show you how to train. Is easy. Just give you the demonstration. You basically trace the character and follow the stroke order. Then you have to drill. In the drill mode, you basically you think you pretty much know how to write, and also not only write, also follow the order. You just write. Then test is the actually stored information for your score, for your test. This is very useful for the instructor to give their assignments. Okay. So here's what appear to be some shortcomings so far. This is the maybe most significant shortcoming is the lack of capability to create or organize your own subgroups of characters in drill and test modes. I would, explain what does that mean. And also the test score stored on a remote server instead of a local server. In other words, David Porter and his company basically control all this information we installed. But I can care less right now, but the first one is a major one. Yeah. So, okay, so let me just, I want to show you, Amanda, can we switch to webcam?
Absolutely. So if you can bring us back to the
webcam.
Bring us back to the Adobe Connect window. Right. So just click on that for me.
Stop.
Perfect. Now what I'm going to do, first I'm going to stop my webcam. You don't need to see me right now. And everybody, I'm just going to switch our format over to discussion so that Li Wei is a little bit bigger. And if you want to make him even bigger, look at the top of this little window here where you see the full screen. That's the icon that's all the way over on the right side at the top of this window. That makes him even bigger. But I can see him pretty well right now.
You see this, right?
Yeah,
so,
looks good.
So so this is one of the characters in lesson 1. So there's a couple of things here, and this is one stroke at the one time. You have to touch it again.
Can you push it over to the middle just a little bit more, Li Wei?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So you have to write like this. Yeah, just like the beginner students. Let me just see. Okay. Here's yeah. So to get it right, go to next, for instance, right? So when you finish all this, there's reflection, right? I guess. Yeah, some reflections. Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So when you finish this, you will see all these characters you're supposed to know. There's more, maybe, yeah. Then next is going to have a drill. So drill and the test is pretty similar. So give the sound and also give you the meaning on the top. So like Shen is a 学生 is a student. So you have to, there's no sort of clue or hint. You have to remember how to write. So let me try. So this is so far it's good. Now, in case you write the wrong stroke, for instance, okay, it says no. Okay, you finish. It finished by itself. So okay, so this again you have to write. Okay, so last time is wrong. So this time I try to follow the stroke order. Says good. So it says 26 left. Yeah. Oh, 学, for instance. Yeah. So next. Okay. Now start to. Okay. Okay. So it's good. Yeah. Also give you the sound too. Let me just turn on this sound. Very exciting sound, huh? Yeah. So in both this mode. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so lesson 1. Okay, the problem that I said it's not very practical because right now, in order for you to complete test, you have to memorize all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 25 characters in the first lesson. So this is could become overwhelming for the first year student. So what I like to do, ideally, the user or the instructor at least, can control over how do we subgroup based on some the new words to let students to practice and to test by themselves. Now it's impossible. You have to write from the first one through 25 altogether. So there's no way you can just say, okay, I want to concentrate on 5 characters for next 2 days, like number 1, number 5, number 6, and number 10, for instance. So this is something lacking right now. We cannot do this. So ideally, you should have this flexibility to let the user to choose their words and group together for test purpose or for the for the drilling purposes. So this is not possible right now. I can show you. Oh, this is the web. Okay, so can I back to the?
You bet.
Okay, it's my share screen again. Okay. I can show you the other thing. For instance, this. Oh, not this one. Not this one. Where is the other one? Okay, now this is the test results. For instance, when the students, can you see this? Yeah. Okay, so the cards, there are 26 character. Okay, cards tested, including repeats, 26, and the final score. So it's get the 24 out of 26 correct. So got 29% for this. So the username, classroom name. So basically, you can look at this. It's individual, right? You can also look at the big screen and how many people use this and test type and percentage-wise as a report card, basically, how students use this to practice. Yeah. So here, I'll just wrap it up. Okay, so some thoughts on this. First of all, I think, I gather some feedback from students. Some students still prefer the printed book, and I ask why. Just all those, the physical attributes of the book, they somehow still prefer the feel. I don't know why. They just feel have a, I said, the book can be very heavy, you don't mind. No, I don't mind. They still feel that way. They also said it's more convenient to make notes on a book. I said, well, you can also use the annotation tools on this, just type in and it's easy. You can also remove, it makes very clean. But I think the second reason is more important. It's the economic aspect. the ebook is more expensive and it cannot be resold. Now remember, textbook, we can also, return to the textbook store, the bookstore, right, at the very low price, but still get some money back, but not for the ebook. Yeah. And I think there's, some people also complain about the page number. It's not very convenient. They would rather just, jump one page, page number, 160, just 160. This one does not have page number. It's content oriented, so you have to go to section and find the right place. And it creates some problem when we have students mixed with both group iPad students and with the conventional book students. Yeah. So from instructor perspective, I think the biggest thing, it can be improved, but I don't know how many other people think about this as well. So lack of interactability. So ebook is supposed to have interact, features. You have input and you also have feedback. I think it's very important, especially for the pronunciation. And this is the third point I want to say. Just still lack of fun to learn the language. Like Tell Me More, we use the online software. You can produce a sound, and also Tell Me More can tell you whether you have good pronunciation and the tones, and also based on their criteria, and give you a score. So this is also, again, it's about interactive, things. And this is the other thing is the lack of online activities. We should have some online activities. Go to, for instance, there is some potential link to virtual tutor, for instance, or some other things. The iBook itself should create some space for that to happen as well. So right now they don't have this. But there's some potentials. Okay, so I'm thinking of, if some schools, ACS affiliated school, also use the same textbook, maybe we can use some of the ebook, especially, character training, trainer app, they can, fit their program as well. So in the future, I'm thinking, we can develop some sort of a software or the app together. Maybe we'll have to share some cost, but it's just basically share our resources and to help, benefit from each other. So that's it. So far, this is my kind of a report. Okay, a few work notes. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sure. Well, so now, Li Wei, if you wouldn't mind taking us back to the Adobe Connect page.
Okay, sure.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably a good discussion is probably what we want to do. So there's Li Wei. And now, of course, we can use
Nancy.
Chat box to top. Nancy's here. And I promise some of you, particularly Hong Chu, seemed really interested in being able to participate in this discussion, and I want to be able to make that happen too. So Hong Chu, I'm enabling your microphone, and I think what you have to do on your end is go look at the sort of the black menu bar, toolbar on top of the discussion here. You should have an icon that looks a little bit like an old-fashioned microphone, which when you click the little arrow to drag down, it may ask you to connect the menu or start your microphone or some command like that. So that should enable you to get in on the conversation if you want to. And, of course, we can also use the chat box, too. That goes for everybody, too. We have a small room here, so, anybody who wants to participate, I don't see any reason why not. I'll give everybody just a minute to get oriented. Let me know if you have questions or you're having a hard time coming through. I'll make sure the audio settings will Hello?
Hey, 洪楚
魏老
，Yeah，
师
傅老
，you
师
can hear me now?
，Hey，
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, hear you.
Can you hear me very well?
Yes, yes,
Yes, we can. Hi, welcome.
yeah.
Amanda, you can hear me too?
Nancy, did you just come on?
Nancy is typing right now, I noticed.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, 傅老师, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay, very good. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Please do.
魏老师 very good.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
really appreciate your pioneering work in this field, our
No.
ACS consortium, and
Yeah.
very informative too. I agree with you that this, especially this Professor Porter's, what is it, Chinese character trainer app.
Yeah.
Probably we can, if we use the same, of course, you now, it looks like you have switched to the integrated Chinese.
Textbook. That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, if we
Yes.
use the same textbook, we can definitely share this app.
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
Professor Porter is going to be mad.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
And I think
Let me give you.
you can
Okay.
you can probably communicate with him regarding your request. I do think it's necessary to have the instructor have the ability to select your selected subgroup of words for the students rather than the
Exactly.
designer of the app. I think you're right. If that feature can be made and it can be available to the instructor, that will be a great advantage for the app, I think.
Exactly. I agree. Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah.
As for the ebook, itself, I'm not sure. I'm a little bit curious why this ebook is more expensive than physical book. I thought it should be otherwise. Because ebook is you can sell, that's easy to repeat it, to why is it more expensive? That's unthinkable.
Yeah. I spoke to my IT colleagues. They also very surprised. They thought, the ebook usually sells much less than the hard copy and the conventional printed copy. Because in some practices, they actually, if you purchase a printed copy, they actually threw in an e-copy without charge. But here is, they charge separately. Not only that, but also it's more expensive than. It's not significantly expensive, more expensive, but we're talking about maybe $5 to $10. I don't know. Yeah, it's. I think with more publishers go with the ebook, I think it's going. The competition is going to heat up, and eventually they have to drop the price. I think.
That's just what I was going to say. Is as we see, well, I guess this is more about character trainer than it is about the ebook necessarily, but it seems like that cost differential is going to be less and less of an issue as we start seeing more applications that use iPads, more assignments that use iPads. That's going to start to be an essential piece of equipment for students, perhaps.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We had some great questions. I don't want to interrupt in this conversation at all, but there are a couple of great questions in the. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I don't want to monopolize some other people. I want to ask.
No, not at all. We have plenty of time to. Please.
In the beginning of Wei Lao's talk, he gave a link to Alice for the iPad. I just went online on my iPad and took a look. really exciting. I think the reason why the Chinese e-textbook is not as popular is that, agree with you, it lacks some entertaining features, not as fun.
Yeah,
Look at
right.
that, there's very lots of interactions. Really, makes people really make people glued to the screen. Um,
Mm,
I really hope the designers or the software makers can make this
mm,
Chinese
mm,
much better.
mm,
Well, I'm sure it will be much better in years to come. It's just
mm,
I think that they need they need more resources, need more people to work on it.
mm.
Perhaps we
Yeah,
only hope that it can improve dramatically soon.
yeah, yeah. It
What do you
really.
what else,
Uh,
what's your students' overall response to your using of e-text?
um, I think it's a mix. I cannot say they are super hyped or super excited about this. Uh, they like some of the features, but they are also um, somehow uh, because especially when the first semester I asked them to purchase the e version, they feel not very comfortable. They actually ended up to purchase both versions, ebook and the printed version. So it
Oh.
cost a lot, yeah. So the second semester, I asked them to, I said, well, uh, I don't care about your printed version, but this project is all about the digital version. So I, just keep using that. Yeah, but the except a few, majority of our students use the loaned iPad, so they have to rely upon the loaned. So when the semester over, they have to return the iPad. So I guess I somehow hope uh, they like the iPad eventually purchase their own and then continue use this, and so the following next semester they can still use that, purchase ebook. But not all that, that case. Yeah, some people like this, and it just, I think it's the portability. It's very portable. They just carry very, it's not, it's very light. So, but also the side effects is they somehow carried away. So during class, they somehow used to check their email or Facebook interaction. Yeah, can be a, yeah, it can be
Sure.
also issue. Yeah.
Well, following
Uh,
up on that, Anna has this wonderful question in the
yeah,
chat box about
yeah.
the different features of the ebook, and if you have had any way, and I'm not sure what this way would be, but is there a
Uh,
way to check and see which of the features the students are using of the ebook? So things like the dictionary, the highlighting, the annotating
mhm,
options. I
mhm,
guess maybe to expand on her question, is there any way to tell what features they're taking advantage of? And is there
mm,
any way, you may already have thought of this and you may already be doing it, is there any way to instill
mhm,
that habit in them, either through maybe time spent talking about the features in class, or I don't know,
mm.
thoughts about
Yeah.
that?
Well, keep in mind that this is a still ongoing project, and I'm still
Hmm.
gathering my data. So I haven't gave a sort of extended survey yet, but from what I heard, they actually are not into this, so I have to tell them, this is a great feature. You have to try this. Yeah, and they're not very proactive to to go find all these features. So there's a lot of potential there, but it just not um, you know very proactive.
That's interesting.
But
Coming,
yeah,
oh, go ahead, sorry.
but I think if you want to use the ebook, the publisher must dealing with this thing. It's the because the language, right? It's a language you needed to hear sound. You have to be able to speech. I think the interactive feature must be improved dramatically to the point you can actually speak, listen back, and with the feedback. So that will improve their speech, skills. But now it's still lack of this. All the audio files actually is basically they put, and this is basically very similar to the ebook on the computer desktop. So you can do this on your browser. You can hear the sound from computer, right? So they should also do this. Maybe there's some features like Apple system. They have this speech recognition. They did not implement that speech. Maybe there is some obstacles, but I don't know. Yeah, they should do this too.
It's interesting to hear you say that because, of course, coming from a very different discipline from literature, I often found in my classroom that students had a hard time using even the features of a printed book, annotating a printed book, did not come naturally to them. And if I wanted them to do that, I sometimes really had to kind of, first of all, drill in the idea that it's okay to annotate a book. Number two, drill in the idea that annotation can be used as an aid to memory or an aid to interpretation. Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting to see that pattern repeating, even in a format that's really built for you to be able to annotate.
Right. Now, I think Nancy Deck has a very interesting question about
Yes.
and also I think Hong Chu tried to respond to this question about the character type of language trainer apps. Uh, for sure, Chinese Japanese is the script-based language, and so using that app will dramatically improve, students to memorize, to remember the correct stroke order. I'm not sure about some other language like Arabic, Hebrew, but they also a script language. I think this could be also a potential for the students of, Arabic, Hebrew, maybe Russian as well. This is something very worth to explore.
One thing that
And
I love about this character stroke idea, or even just the basic mechanism by which the software works, is that the students are able, this is normally, without these electronic tools, this is something that the students can practice on their own, but they're not getting that instant feedback. They're not getting, in other words, the kind of supervision that they need to make sure that they're making their characters correctly. I love having put this, in an app now where they can practice anywhere and where they can get that instantaneous feedback.
exactly.
It seems like such a wonderful way for them to be able to practice in a really meaningful way.
Right, and I think it's because you don't have to use iPad, big ones. They work all these smartphones, Android or iPhone, and they take it anywhere and to practice anytime. So it's really some convenience to the students. And I had a question about this, too, about how we encourage students to use the 21st century tools. I don't know. Sometimes they very selectively use the technology. For instance, anything to do with their youth culture, or like Facebook is they can be with 724. Yeah, yeah, they do a lot of fancy things on the Facebook, but not necessarily. I think they also have a tendency to separate academic life from their social life too. So yeah, and but we do everything we could, and to just to encourage them. But the other thing is technology is a wonderful thing. If we can develop something that has very features that our youth like interactively and animatedly, so students would join to this, type of technology.
And I think it probably goes with student motivation. I mean, different students are going to be motivated to different degrees. And if you, the ones who realize, all you can really do is point out to them how these features can be helpful and can help them learn more quickly, more efficiently, and in a more permanent way, perhaps. And then you kind of have to rely on their good sense to use these tools after you've introduced it to them. I'm sure you can bring it into the classroom and make it part of what you do in the classroom and hope that maybe that will have an impact on what they do when they're outside the classroom. But there is, again, only so much you can do.
Yeah. I do see the benefits, and it's already tangible for students using the character trainer app. If you give them, even though at the first semester it's especially challenged, now the second semester we still use them to train them to. It's kind of also review tool. Some of the old characters you know how to write, but you sometimes don't know how to write correctly. That means you have to follow the correct stroke order. Now we do the second time, their accuracy rate is much higher. So I think that in the long run they would memorize these characters, and their ability to be able to build up all these characters. Right now, because Chinese characters like a uh, just the building block, these different components. If they know the characters, their components, their radical, and this app is absolutely useful. Yeah. But we just run out of money. We don't have the money for the second phase. So hopefully, we try to. Anna is the one that still negotiate with the publisher, and hopefully the publisher take over this project and contact directly to the developer and have this project continue move forward with the some of the features that I mentioned, have the ability to subgroup, and the user defined group, so that becomes more practical. Yeah.
Well, while we've got Nancy and Hung Chu still on the line, I'll just point out too, this could be a really interesting candidate, I think, for an ACS grant. Particularly if we could, along the lines of what you were talking about before, find a way for more than one institution to benefit from all the good work that you've done. So let's keep that in mind, and then maybe we can also take this recording and send it to other schools who might be interested in participating and see what we can build from there. I guess we are running out of time, but I'll ask one quick question just out of personal interest. As a side note, I think it's wonderful that Rollins has this granting structure in place to help encourage projects like this. And if we had more time, I'd ask you to expand on that. But since we are almost out of time, let me just ask, you talked about collecting evaluation data about how students are using these new tools. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What are you doing in order to evaluate the effectiveness?
Well, I was planning by the end of this semester and ask the students who participate in this project to give some feedback, especially willingness to spend money on this ebook instead of printed book. And also there's separate questions, separate sets of the questions, one concerning with the ebook, the other concerning with the app itself.
Yeah.
My anticipation, because I already knew the students liked the app because they use this to improve their language writing skills. The ebook part, I'm still not for sure whether they like this because they spend more money on this. Once they finish, some students, want to sell the book. You cannot sell a digital book though, so they think it's not very convenient for that part. And also the ebook is not advanced to the point that the students can use for the real interactive sort of conversation, speech and pronunciation. They right now just passively listen to the audio file. They're not in the mode of participatory mode. So that's the thing for this particular textbook. I'm sure there are a lot of book right now, especially the new book. They try to put it in ebook, but they have to very seriously consider some of the features the students want to use.
That's really, yeah, that's interesting. That point about being a participatory versus passive, I bet that has something to do with, what you were talking about before, what you alluded to is students understanding technologies to be useful for certain social applications versus for academic applications. And it seems like that might be a huge, to get back to Anna's question, that might be one great thing we must try and overcome is trying to get students to think about electronic tools for learning as both active and passive things that we can use. But at any rate, we're here at the top of the hour. We have had a request to come through in the chat box from Hong Chu, who asks that when you do write up your studies of these tools, if you could maybe share them, which I think would be wonderful, and particularly with an eye to thinking about what the difference is in classes where you're not using the ebook. That'd be wonderful. And I guess what I'll do now then is thank you and all of our participants. That was a fascinating presentation, and I really appreciated all the great questions from our audience too. And again, we'll record this and put it up to our YouTube page in case people want to look at any of the parts of it again.